The morning of the graduation was bright and full of promise. The sun shone gently through the windows of the old high school auditorium, painting the room with warm light. Families from all around the town had come to celebrate a very special day, the day their children would walk across the stage, receive their diplomas, and officially become graduates. For some, it was just another ceremony. But for others, like Derek Marshall, it was one of the proudest moments of their lives. Derek was a man who carried himself with quiet confidence. He was tall, with a broad frame that spoke of years, of discipline and strength. His skin was a deep, rich brown, and his eyes carried the wisdom of someone who had seen a lot in life. He wore a neat, dark suit with a crisp white shirt underneath, a simple black tie completing his look. Today, though, he wasn't just a man in a suit. He was a father who had come to watch his son, Jordan, graduate. Jordan was a remarkable young man. Derek had watched him grow from a curious little boy into a confident, intelligent young man ready to take on the world. Jordan had always been different, thoughtful, kind, and hard-working. Derek remembered the countless nights he stayed up helping Jordan with homework, the early mornings when they practiced speeches together, and the endless support he had given his son to make sure he never gave up on his dreams. The school had arranged for families to come in early to get good seats in the auditorium. Derek arrived well before the ceremony was set to start, wanting to make sure he had a perfect spot. This wasn't just any seat. It was the best seat for a proud father watching his son's big day. Derek felt a rush of emotions as he took his place in the middle of the auditorium, right near the front. His heart was pounding, not from nerves, but from excitement and pride. Around him, the room was buzzing with chatter and laughter. Parents, grandparents, siblings, and friends, all gathered, sharing stories and snapping pictures. Everyone was dressed up, and the air was thick with the smell of freshly polished floors, flowers, and the faint scent of perfume and cologne. The stage was decorated with balloons and banners that read, "Congratulations, graduates," and the sound of the school band tuning their instruments filled the room. Derek looked around, his eyes searching for familiar faces among the crowd. He spotted some of Jordan's teachers, who smiled and nodded in recognition. Many knew Derek not just as a father, but also as the police chief of their community. Derek had served the town for over 20 years, protecting and helping people, every day, often going above and beyond the call of duty. But here, on this day, he was just a father. A man who loved his son more than anything else in the world. Even though Derek was proud of his role in the community, he knew that being a black man in this town was not always easy. There were still times when people looked at him differently, or judged him unfairly because of the color of his skin. Derek had learned to carry himself with dignity, never letting ignorance or prejudice bring him down. Today, he hoped those things wouldn't matter, that the only thing anyone would see was a proud father celebrating his son's success. As the ceremony time drew closer, Derek's thoughts wandered to Jordan. He remembered the first day Jordan had started school, nervous but eager to learn. He thought about the challenges Jordan faced, the times he was underestimated by others, and the way he always worked twice as hard to prove himself. Derek smiled, softly as he thought of how much Jordan had grown, not just in height, but in character. He felt a swell of pride when he thought about all that Jordan had accomplished, the scholarships he had earned, the clubs he had led, the friendships he had built. Derek was proud not just of Jordan's academic achievements, but of the kind young man he had become. He knew the road had not been easy for his son or for himself, but moments like this made all the struggles worthwhile. The auditorium slowly filled up as more families arrived. Some brought balloons and flowers, others carried cameras and video recorders. Children ran around excitedly while parents tried to keep them calm. The noise and excitement made the room feel alive, and Derek took a deep breath, trying to soak in every detail. As the principal stepped up to the podium to start the ceremony, a hush fell over the crowd. Derek's eyes fixed on the stage, waiting for the moment when Jordan's name would be called. The principal began to speak about the achievements of the graduating class, their hard work, and their bright futures. Derek glanced down at his watch, knowing it wouldn't be long now. He thought about how far Jordan had come, from a small child with big dreams to a young man ready to step out into the world and make those dreams come true. Around him, he noticed families cheering, wiping away tears, and hugging each other. The sense of community was strong, but Derek also felt the undercurrent of tension that sometimes lingered beneath the surface in a town still working to overcome old prejudices. Still, Derek held his head high, proud and hopeful. This was his son's day, a day filled with promise, hope, and joy. Nothing would take that away from him. Not today. The moment was precious, full of meaning, and Derek was ready to celebrate it fully, alongside his son and everyone who had supported them along the way. If you want, I can continue with the next parts or add dialogue, emotions, or details. Just let me know. The auditorium was filled with the low murmur of voices, the occasional laughter, and the gentle rustling of programs as the graduation ceremony progressed. Derek Marshall sat in his seat, calm but alert, proud beyond words. He watched as Jordan's classmates prepared to receive their diplomas. The proud families around him shared smiles and congratulations. But beneath the surface of this joyful day, something unexpected was about to happen. Something that would shake Derek in a way he wasn't ready for. It started quietly, almost like a shadow creeping across the bright room. A woman, later, known in hushed whispers and online conversations as Karen, appeared on the edge of Derek's vision. She was in her early 50s, dressed in a floral blouse and beige pants, with her hair pulled back tightly. She carried herself with a kind of sharp, confident energy, the kind that often left others feeling small or uncomfortable. Karen's eyes narrowed as she scanned the rows of chairs. Her gaze landed on Derek, who was sitting comfortably near. The front, clearly part of a family waiting to celebrate a graduate. But to Karen, something seemed off. She didn't recognize Derek, or more likely, she refused to see him for who he truly was. With a brisk step, Karen moved forward and stopped directly in front of Derek's seat. She leaned down slightly and said loudly enough for those nearby to hear, "Excuse me, sir, but you're not supposed to be sitting here. These seats are reserved." Derek looked up, his calm expression unchanging. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I'm here for my son's graduation. This is my seat." Karen's lips tightened, and her eyes flicked toward the program in her hand, then back at Derek. "I know this school well," she said, her tone sharp. "These seats are for families only. You don't belong here." The words hit Derek, like an unexpected blow. For a moment he was stunned. How could she say such a thing when he was clearly here for his own son? Around them, people started to notice. Some paused their conversations, their eyes darting between Derek and the woman confronting him. Derek took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Ma'am, I'm Jordan's father. I've been here since early this morning to make sure we had seats for our family." Karen's eyes flashed with impatience. "I'm telling you, these seats aren't for you. I'm going to have security come and escort you out if you don't leave." At that moment, Derek realized this wasn't about seating. It was about something deeper, something uncomfortable and painful. It was about her seeing him not as a proud father, but as a black man in a place where she didn't expect to see him. Derek's voice was steady, but firm. "I am staying here. This is my son's graduation." Karen's posture stiffened. She looked around as if seeking allies, but many people had stopped to watch quietly, unsure of what to do. Some pulled out their phones, whispering to each other about the confrontation unfolding. One of the nearby parents, a woman with a kind face, muttered, "He's Jordan's dad. You're making a scene." But Karen ignored the comments. She stood her ground, repeating, "I'm going to call security." Derek shook his head slowly. "Please don't. There's no need for that. I'm not causing trouble. Suddenly, a voice from behind the crowd called out, "Wait a minute, isn't that Derek Marshall?" The room seemed to hold its breath. Derek slowly reached inside his blazer and pulled out a badge. The badge that identified him as the chief of police for the city. The same badge that many people in the town knew well, but apparently Karen had not noticed until now. The flash of metal caught the light, and the room's energy shifted instantly. Karen's face paled. The confidence she had wielded like a weapon evaporated in an instant. "Chief Marshal?" someone whispered in awe. Derek spoke calmly. "Yes, ma'am. I'm Jordan's father, and I'm here to watch him graduate." Karen looked down, unable to meet Derek's steady gaze. Her voice faltered as she mumbled an apology. I didn't know." The surrounding crowd murmured their own reactions, some shocked, others quietly angry on Derek's behalf. The tension in the room seemed to dissolve, replaced by a mix of respect and relief. Derek sat back down, the weight of the moment settling on his shoulders. This was supposed to be a day of celebration, not confrontation. Yet the incident exposed a harsh truth. Even someone like Derek, respected and honored as a police chief, could still be subjected to unfair treatment and assumptions based solely on race. Throughout the rest of the ceremony, Derek stayed composed. His eyes occasionally met Jordan's on stage, a silent exchange passing between them, a shared understanding of the challenges they had faced and the pride they felt in each other. Some parents approached Derek afterward to offer quiet words of support. Others expressed their frustration at what had happened, recognizing that the confrontation was not just about seats, but about prejudice and misunderstanding. Karen, meanwhile, slipped away before the ceremony ended, perhaps realizing the gravity of her mistake, but leaving behind a ripple that would be felt by many. The incident became a quiet but powerful reminder. No matter how far someone has come, the shadows of bias can still cast a long shadow. And sometimes, standing tall means facing those shadows with dignity, courage, and grace. The room had grown tense, the atmosphere thick with discomfort and unspoken words. After the heated exchange, Derek Marshall remained calm, his steady gaze fixed ahead but alert to every subtle movement around him. He had faced many challenges in his life, as a police officer, as a black man in a town still grappling with old prejudices, and as a father determined to give his son the best. But nothing could prepare him for this moment. Standing quietly in a crowded auditorium, confronted by a woman who didn't recognize him and who wrongly questioned his right to be there, Karen's insistence that Derek should leave had drawn a crowd. People whispered to each other, some glancing nervously at Derek, others at Karen. The murmurs carried a mix of curiosity, sympathy, and shock. This wasn't just any man. Derek was well known in the community, a man who wore many hats, but today, he was a father. Realizing the situation was escalating, Derek decided it was time to clear the misunderstanding once and for all. With calm dignity, he reached slowly into the inside pocket of his blazer. Fingers brushing the cool metal of his badge, he pulled it out carefully so everyone nearby could see. The badge gleamed under the soft auditorium lights, a symbol of authority, respect, and years of dedication. It read, Chief of Police, a title that commanded attention and respect in the town and beyond. The crowd's reaction was immediate and electric. A hush fell over the room, punctuated only by gasps and whispers of recognition. Karen's confident demeanor crumbled instantly, her face flushed with embarrassment and shame. "Chief Marshal?" a woman in the front row whispered loudly enough for the surrounding crowd to hear. "That's the police chief?" Derek nodded slowly, holding the badge up for a moment longer before slipping it back into his jacket pocket. His voice was calm, steady, but firm as he addressed Karen. "Yes, ma'am, I'm the chief of police for this city. And more importantly today, I'm Jordan's father. I'm here to watch my son graduate." The words hung in the air, powerful and undeniable. The crowd exchanged looks, many shaking their heads in disbelief that Karen had failed to recognize Derek. Some people murmured quietly in support, expressing their outrage over the unfair treatment he had just endured. Karen's eyes dropped to the floor. Her earlier bravado was gone, replaced by visible discomfort. She muttered an apology, barely audible. I didn't know. But Derek wasn't interested in humiliation or revenge. He was interested in dignity, for himself, for his son, and for the community that deserved better than such moments of division. Around them, the energy shifted. The earlier tension began to dissolve as people's respect for Derek grew. His patience and composure in the face of such ignorance were remarkable. Many realized that this moment was not just about a confrontation over seats. It was about acknowledging a deeper truth, the pain of prejudice and the resilience required to overcome it. A few parents stepped closer to Derek, offering quiet words of encouragement. "I'm sorry you had to go through that." One woman said softly. Another added, "Thank you for handling it so well." Despite the momentary embarrassment, Derek stayed seated. He looked toward the stage where Jordan was preparing to receive his diploma. Their eyes met briefly, sharing a silent but powerful connection. Jordan's expression showed pride mixed with a bit of frustration, a reflection of the journey they had both traveled. The principal noticed the crowd's attention and decided to move forward with the ceremony to ease the growing awkwardness. As names were called and diplomas handed out, Derek kept his focus on his son. He knew this moment was bigger than any confrontation. It was a celebration of triumph over obstacles, misunderstandings, and stereotypes. The ceremony continued, but Derek's revelation remained a topic of quiet conversation among those nearby. Some expressed disbelief that such ignorance could exist in their town, while others spoke about the importance of respect and inclusion. Karen, meanwhile, quietly left the auditorium during the ceremony's early stages. No one saw where she went, but her departure marked the end of an uncomfortable chapter in the day's events. As the ceremony wrapped up, Derek remained proud but contemplative. He understood that moments like this were reminders of the work still needed in the community, work toward understanding, acceptance, and equality. For Derek, revealing his identity was not about showing power or status. It was about reminding everyone present, and anyone who might hear the story later, that respect is owed to all people, no matter their skin color, position, or background. As the graduates tossed their caps in the air and families embraced, Derek felt a renewed sense of hope. His son had achieved something incredible today, and despite the challenges they faced, moments like this proved their strength. The reveal had turned the tide of the day, transforming a moment of potential division into one of unity and respect. Derek knew that stories like his could inspire change. One person, one family, one community at a time. The ceremony continued with an air of quiet dignity. Derek Marshall sat back in his seat, eyes fixed on the stage where his son Jordan was preparing to receive his diploma. The earlier confrontation with Karen, the woman who had challenged his right to be there, was still fresh in the minds of those nearby, but it had not stolen the day's joy. Instead, it had become a quiet reminder of why moments like this were so important. Moments where families come together to celebrate love, achievement, and hope. As Jordan's name was announced, a hush fell over the crowd. The auditorium filled with applause as Jordan walked confidently toward the stage. Derek's chest swelled with pride. This was the culmination of years of hard work, sacrifice, and support. He watched as Jordan shook hands with the principal, received his diploma, and turned to face the audience. There was a radiant smile on Jordan's face, one that mirrored his father's joy. Jordan's eyes met Derek's in the crowd. The exchange was brief, but full of meaning. It was a moment that said more than words ever could, a moment that captured their shared journey, the obstacles they had overcome, and the bright future ahead. The applause continued as Jordan took his seat, and Derek felt a wave of relief and happiness wash over him. Despite the earlier incident, the ceremony was a success. His son had achieved something remarkable, and Derek's heart was full. After the ceremony, families began to gather in the school hallways and outside the auditorium, hugging, taking photos, and sharing stories. Derek was soon surrounded by friends, colleagues, and other parents who offered their congratulations and support. Many expressed their outrage at the confrontation with Karen and praised Derek for handling the situation with such grace and composure. One colleague from the police department clapped Derek on the back and said, "You kept your cool like always, Chief. That was impressive." Another parent added, "It's sad that someone could be so rude on a day like this, but you showed everyone what dignity really looks like." Derek smiled, grateful for the support but still processing, the complex emotions swirling inside him. The confrontation had been painful, a stark reminder that prejudice still existed, but the love for his son and the pride in his accomplishment overshadowed any bitterness. Jordan was soon by his side, and Derek embraced him tightly. "You did amazing today," Derek whispered. Jordan smiled, his eyes shining with gratitude. "Thanks, Dad. I couldn't have done it without you." As the crowd began to disperse, school officials approached Derek. They had heard about the incident with Karen and wanted to discuss how to handle it. Derek listened as they assured him they would address the situation seriously. The officials expressed their commitment to making the school a welcoming place for all families, regardless of background. Meanwhile, some parents who witnessed the confrontation had recorded parts of it on their phones. Soon, a video of the incident started circulating on social media, drawing attention from the wider community. The clip showed Karen demanding Derek leave, Derek calmly revealing his badge, and the stunned reaction of the crowd. The video quickly went viral. Comments poured in, many condemning Karen's behavior and praising Derek's calm response. The incident sparked a broader conversation about everyday racism, assumptions, and the importance of standing up for what is right. Derek found himself interviewed by local news stations. He spoke thoughtfully about the importance of dignity, patience, and the ongoing work needed to build understanding in the community. He emphasized that the story wasn't just about one confrontation, but about the experiences many people face daily. Jordan stood beside his father during some of these interviews, showing the strength of their bond and the pride they shared. Together, they became a symbol of resilience and hope for others facing similar challenges. In the days that followed, Derek received messages of support from colleagues, community members, and even strangers who had been moved by the story. Many expressed their desire to work toward a more inclusive and respectful community. Karen's name was never officially released, but her actions sparked important discussions in the school district. Workshops on diversity, inclusion, and respect were scheduled to help prevent similar incidents in the future. Derek's experience became a catalyst for positive change. For Derek and Jordan, the incident was a difficult chapter in an otherwise joyous day, but it also became a reminder of their strength, the love that bound them, and the power of standing tall in the face of adversity. As the weeks passed, Derek continued his work as police chief with renewed determination. He knew that leadership wasn't just about authority, but about setting an example, showing patience, respect, and courage every day. Jordan, inspired by his father's strength, focused on his next steps in college, ready to build a future that honored his past and embraced all possibilities. The graduation day, with all its challenges and triumphs, became a story of resilience, a story about a father's love, a community's growth, and the unbreakable bond between a parent and child. After the graduation ceremony ended and the crowd had dispersed, Derek Marshall found himself standing outside the school with his son, Jordan. The day was turning into evening, and the sky had softened to gentle shades of pink and orange. The air was cool and calm, carrying the quiet hum of conversations fading away and cars pulling out of the parking lot. For a moment, Father and son stood side by side, watching families reunite, friends say their goodbyes, and graduates take pictures that would capture memories to last a lifetime. The joy of the day was unmistakable, but beneath it all was a lingering heaviness from the earlier confrontation, a moment that neither Derek nor Jordan would soon forget. Derek looked at Jordan, who still wore his graduation gown and cap. The smile on Jordan's face was bright and hopeful, but Derek knew that deep inside, his son was thinking about the difficult moments that sometimes come with success, moments where pride meets prejudice. Jordan turned to his father. "Dad, today was everything I dreamed of, but it also reminded me of the things we still have to face." Derek nodded thoughtfully. "Yes, son. Life can be complicated like that. But remember, the strength we carry inside us is what helps us push through. Today, you showed everyone how far you've come." The incident with Karen, while painful, had sparked something important, a conversation about respect, understanding, and change. Derek realized that this was not just about one day or one person. It was about a community learning and growing, about breaking down walls built by fear and ignorance. As they walked to their car, Derek reflected on his years as police chief. He had seen many challenges, some difficult and some inspiring. But this moment, standing beside his son on his graduation day, felt especially meaningful. It was a reminder that leadership was not just about enforcing laws, but about being a role model, about standing firm in one's values, and treating everyone with dignity. Over the next few days, Derek noticed how the community responded to the incident. The video of the confrontation spread on social media, drawing attention not only locally, but from people across the country. Many shared messages of support, thanking Derek for handling the situation with such grace and courage. Local leaders and school officials began conversations about how to improve inclusivity and respect in schools and public spaces. Workshops were organized, and efforts to educate about unconscious bias and empathy increased. Derek was invited to speak at community events, sharing his story and encouraging others to stand up against discrimination in their own lives. His words were powerful but gentle, reflecting the calm strength he showed during the confrontation. Jordan, too, became involved, speaking at youth events about the importance of perseverance and kindness. Together, father and son became symbols of resilience and hope, examples of how to face adversity without losing sight of one's dreams. The incident also led to quiet changes within the school system. Teachers and administrators became more aware of the subtle ways prejudice could affect students and families. Policies were reviewed, and new initiatives were launched to promote diversity and inclusion. Despite the progress, Derek knew there was still work to be done. Change doesn't happen overnight, and breaking down deep-rooted biases requires patience and persistence. But he felt hopeful. The day's events had shown that even in difficult moments, there was an opportunity for growth. At home, Derek and Jordan often talked about what had happened. They shared their feelings, hopes, and fears. Derek encouraged Jordan to stay true to himself and to remember the power of kindness, even when faced with ignorance. Jordan was determined to make a difference in his own way. He dreamed of a future where no one would be judged unfairly and where everyone's achievements would be celebrated without question. For Derek, the incident reaffirmed his commitment to his community. He resolved to continue working toward justice and equality, not just as police chief, but as a father and a citizen. He also recognized the importance of teaching the next generation, including his own son, to stand strong with dignity and compassion. In a world that could sometimes be harsh, those qualities were the true markers of strength. As weeks turned into months, the memory of the graduation day confrontation became a turning point. It was a story told with honesty and courage, inspiring others to reflect on their own attitudes and actions. The bond between Derek and Jordan grew even stronger, rooted in shared experience and mutual respect. Together, they looked toward the future with hope, a future where understanding and acceptance could overcome division and fear. The story of the racist Karen incident was not just about conflict. It was about resilience, growth, and the power of love. It was a reminder that even in the face of ignorance, people could rise above with dignity and grace. And so, life moved forward. Derek continued to serve as chief of police, always mindful of the lessons learned that day. Jordan pursued his dreams with determination and kindness. Their story became part of the community's fabric, a story of challenge and triumph, of prejudice confronted and hope renewed. In the end, the graduation day was more than just a ceremony. It was a testament to the strength of family, the importance of standing up for what is right, and the ongoing journey toward a better, more inclusive world.